I'm starting it. And so yeah, so we've already got 30. That sounds
Yeah, I
great.
think we can go ahead. I think this is a
You know, let me tell you what I will do. I am making you, oops, let me admit that person. And let me make you a co-host.
mhm.
And that way, if someone does come in late, you're able to admit them. I mean, I can always get back and do it, but just kind of keeps it seamless. All right. So, welcome to this introduction to Nearpod. And I will tell you, I have been using Nearpod when I think it was born. And it is a great tool. And for you and your high school students, I think you'll really see many possibilities. And I will tell you, it is with the virtual learning and remote learning that's going on, it has become a real uh, tool and resource for teachers. So here is my plan. We're going to start off, and I am going to have you be my students. I want you to understand and see what the students see on their screens. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, and then I'm going to have, halfway through, we'll be through that, and I will um, be sharing, taking you into your account where you can do some editing and creating right there. So let me start sharing my screen and I will just move some of this out of the way. And so what you're seeing right now is my library, and my library probably it has a lot of folders where I have put lessons into the folders, trying to make myself more organized and such. Yours may not have this, but as you start using Nearpod, you will certainly see the advantage of that. So I'm going into one of my folders, and this is the lesson that we are going to be doing. And so anytime you have oh, that's not the one I wanted to do. Excuse me. Ignore this one. I'm going to close that one out. Anytime you hover over a lesson, you have these choices. And the two that you look at right now are live participation and student paced. Live participation will be what we're doing today, but student paced means that you could assign this lesson. It's the same exact lesson to your students, and they would be doing it on the time that they select. And you have high school students and such, you may not know exactly what's going on in their homes all the time. They may be having, they may have a part-time job. They may be helping their siblings with their lessons. So the fact that you can assign a lesson that they do when it's a time that's good for them. You might assign a lesson on Monday morning and say this is due by Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. and such. But it is the same lesson regardless. And whenever you click on either one of these, that is what generates the code. Remember, your students do not have an account. So all they need is the code. So right now you're not in your account, or if you are, there is a place to that you can join a lesson. And you type in WGLTY. It is not case sensitive. Sometimes it'll be just letters, or it may be letters and numbers. You can share this code through email. You can link it to your LMS. You can put it in Google Classroom. However you want to communicate that to your students. For me, the teacher, this code, once we get started, I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. is always in the top left-hand corner of my screen, so that if someone does come in late, it is very easy for me to give that code to them. If you're using Zoom or some other way, you can always put the code in the chat, and that's a good way to communicate that to your students. So I'm asking you to join this lesson as a student and typing in WGLTY. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, I see how many are actually in my class. Right now, there's only one, and we need more students. So you have gone to nearpod.com. There should be a bar or a place there where it says join, and you type in the code WGLTY. And of course, for you, you know how many students are in the class, so you can watch that, and as they join, and when you see that number is all your class, that helps you see the numbers. Now, if you're asked to log on, you can put in your name and such, and you always hit submit. Also, if a student does come in late and you've already started the lesson, it will bring them right to the spot the rest of the class is. So it's very easy to have your students enrolled or in this lesson. So we're going to be doing this introduction to Nearpod. And also I'm going to go on. Remember, we're doing live participation. That means that I am the teacher. I am in charge. You can't get ahead of me, or I'm going to be moving the presentation along the way. Okay, we've got 15, but I think more of you are coming in. Anyhow, this is who I am. I'm actually retired, which is wonderful. I still do a lot of consulting, and I am a level 3 certified trainer for Nearpod. And Nearpod's been keeping me very busy these last couple of months and all. So now what you have next is a Google form. This Google form, you can put a Google form into your lesson. And the reason I'm asking for your name and email is that when this is over with, I want to be able to send you some additional Nearpod resources. And so I'll be able to go into my Google Docs and pick up your email addresses and send you the additional resources. That I'm not going to bombard you with a bunch of emails or anything like that. So please go ahead. It's very easy to fill out, and it certainly will be worthwhile. But you can, anytime you can bring in like Google Forms, other documents into Nearpod. And I'm going to be showing you how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Now, this is especially for you as high school teachers. This is only on the student screen. Up in the top right-hand corner of your screen, there is an icon. It looks like a paper and pencil. And when you click on it, what this does, it turns notes on. And notes allows your students to do just what it sounds like. As you're going through a lesson, they can take their own notes. You do not see this on the teacher screen. And you do not see your student notes. They are notes just for their use. And so this is something one of the very first things we'll do when we finish going through this part of the presentation is look at your settings, because it's very important that you make sure that toggle is on for notes. Now, throughout this, you will see some down arrows. That's just a reinforcement slide. Also, because you have notes turned on, and you can turn them on at any point, that means besides getting your notes, you will also get the presentation. Okay, this is a poll. I'm asking you to describe your familiarity with Nearpod. I like polls. It gives me a great way of learning from my students to get a response from them. It could be asking about their understanding of their homework. It can be on any topic. And what I'm seeing your responses in real time. And also it's building a pie chart for me, which is a nice visual as far as seeing where you are. Most of you have said, you're new to Nearpod. I've heard of Nearpod. And a few, some more say I've used Nearpod a few times. So this is a great way for me to make sure that we're all on the right page. And I also have a share button on that pie chart. And students love seeing the results when you take a poll. And so not only do you get 100% participation, but you're able to collect data from your students. So this is what I was seeing. This is just my little class of 4 students. As you can see, here's my pie chart, and I have that share button in the middle. And so I could share this out with the class. So because you're near to Nearpod, some of you may think, well, I'm not quite sure what it even does. It is a presentation tool, but what sets it aside are a couple of outstanding points. One, it's very interactive. Your students are involved in the lesson. They're not just listening to you. There's over 8,500 lessons already created. And this, so you don't ever have to start from scratch if you don't want to. It's also very easy to bring in PowerPoint presentation or Google slideshows. If it can be graded, it will be graded for you. Now, anytime you put a video inside, yes, go ahead. Was there a question? And as I said, I told Kathy earlier, if you have a question, don't hesitate to interrupt me. Anytime you have a video inside Nearpod, you're going to get this pop-up window, and it's going to say, where would you like this video to be played? You have a choice. You can play it on this device only. That means your students would watch it on your device. Or you can say all devices, and that means it would be, they would start it on their own device. If you do say all devices, you need to leave some wiggle room there because they're not all going to start it at the same time and all. So I'm going to go ahead. Today, I'm just going to say this device only, and I'm going to start the video. And what Nearpod has done, they've created a lot of short training videos that you can go back and watch. This one is less than 2 minutes. And so I click on
Introducing Nearpod. With Nearpod, you can make every lesson interactive. Launch lessons your students can't wait to join with collaborative, engaging activities like virtual reality, simulations, and gamified quizzes. As the teacher, you'll always know where your students are with Nearpod's formative assessments, including polls, open-ended questions, draw-its, and more. Get started with what you already have. Upload any of your favorite resources, PowerPoints, Google Slides, and videos, including directly from YouTube. Then, add in media and formative assessment in a few clicks. And now you can add questions directly into videos to make them interactive. Get started even faster with our library of pre-made lessons and videos, built in partnership with some of your favorite brands. You can use them as is or customize to meet the unique needs of your students. Once you're ready to launch your lesson, choose from 3 teaching modes. In live participation mode, you control the pace and students participate on their devices, either in person or remotely with web conferencing. In student-paced mode, students move through and participate on their own, whether they're working from home or in class working in centers, stations, or groups. With front-of-class mode, you can use Nearpod without student devices and facilitate collaborative discussions. Imagine what you can do with Nearpod. Your students will love lessons that combine engaging media with collaborative ways for them to show off how much they've learned. You'll love unlocking student understanding in real time and having reports to inform the next day's instruction. You'll wonder how you taught.
Okay, so that just gives you an overview. Nearpod has a lot of partnerships with other entities, and that's why you're able to have so many different resources available. This is a PowerPoint lesson that I did a number of years ago. It's on predator and prey, but it wasn't interactive. It was just one slide after another. And so I brought it into Nearpod, and you're going to see how I have made it interactive. This is one of our favorite tools, and this is what we call a draw it. And there are so many ways you can use draw it. This is one way. Draw a picture of what you think a predator would look like. And you have some drawing tools down there on the left-hand side. And I really don't spend any time on those drawing tools. The kids figure them out and all. And I will tell you, many of the activities now, you can add a timer. So if you have a drawing activity that resembles something like this, I could have put a timer on it because most of the time, the students want to keep working on it and I'm ready to go on. I do mention to them there's more colors than black and all. So what I am seeing on my screen are your drawings. I'm watching you in real time draw your predators. Some of them I have figured out, a couple I'm just kind of waiting for you to add some more features. I'm not quite sure what they are. Now, a lot of times I use this because I could share the student drawings to the whole class. And I like to do that because we all know we have those students that never raise their hand, never speak up or such. And this is a great way to recognize them, and it really helps their self-esteem and all. So I'm looking at these. Now you have a submit button, so go ahead and submit, even if you're not quite finished. If I had put a timer on this, I would have started the activity. And then when time ran out, whatever the students have drawn will be turned in, whether they're finished or not. Now, these drawings and all will also show up in reports. And so you will see what each of your students have drawn.
Excuse me, Joan.
Uh-huh.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Amy Gallagher and I'm an AP here. Could you also make me a co-host, please, if possible?
Yeah, I'm having my Windows frozen for participants, so I can't let people in.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it and it's not working. Yeah.
Okay, let me get back here. Okay, I have somebody to admit. And Amy, it was Gallagher. Okay.
Yes, I'm Amy.
Oh, well, whoops. Oh, wait, I hit the wrong one. It keeps jumping around on me. Oh, here's Amy up here. Okay, Amy, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Okay, thank you.
And there you go.
Thank
Okay. Yes, we don't want anybody not admitted. And all. Okay, so let me just close that off. I think we got everybody in. So as we're talking about, and you can give anybody that came in late the code by putting it in the chat. So I'm looking at these drawings, and Nick is one of my shy students and all. And so I can look at his drawing and I can share it out with the class. I also have the ability to hide student names and all, but then we could have a great class discussion about this predator, about what are the characteristics that make it a predator and all. And so Nick could chime in and he could talk about why he thinks he has a predator. So I love the drawings. It's very creative. I'm going to show you a lot of different ways to use draw it. It can be something like this, but there's a lot of other possibilities. And teachers have really latched on to using draw it very creatively. So as I said, this is what I was seeing in real time. I was seeing your drawings, and when they're green, that means you have submitted. When earlier that was yellow. This is just part of the slideshow. We're talking about those images. Here's the definition of a predator, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is another draw it. It's different than what you did before. You still have your drawing tools, but I'm asking you to circle the predator in each sentence. And so this was just a slide that I typed these sentences on, and then you just pick up your drawing tool and you would do circle the predator. So like the other drawing was kind of a pre-assessment. This is kind of a formative assessment as I'm going through the lesson. Do they now understand what a predator is? And you can think about what you teach. You're looking for understanding and such. If most of them are not getting this right, that's a clue to me that I need to stop and reteach. I don't have to wait and grade something. I don't have to go into my reports. This gives me immediate feedback from my students. Okay, so go ahead and submit. I think you all are a gifted and talented group, so we can go on. And again, this is what I was seeing. You were circling the predator in each sentence and all. This is a 3D image, and there's a 3D library, and you can bring these images in. Now, there's something on the circulatory system, there's auditory system, there's the animal cell. It's not just sharks and tarantulas. But I will tell you, sometimes I put something like this at the beginning of the lesson. May not have anything to do with the lesson, but it kind of keeps the kids focused and gives them something to do while I'm starting the lesson. And of course, where I live, we don't see sharks because I'm in north part of Texas. Now, this is a quiz. A quiz can be 25 questions or such. This one's just 2 questions. And so go ahead and, be answering the 2 questions. Again, here's what's happening on my screen, and you'll see this in just a minute. I see immediately how my students are doing. It's also taking your results and building me a pie chart again. And so if my pie chart is a lime green color, then I know that my students have a good understanding. If it's red, I have another, again, this tells me I need to reteach. Now, any quiz is going to be graded for you, and you will see in the reports how all of your students did, what's the percentage that got correct on each question, and so forth. But I know right now, without even going to my reports or such, how my students have done and all. So this could be, many, a lot more questions than 2, but it's another way of doing a formative assessment, almost a summative assessment, right in the middle of your lesson. So this is what I was seeing. I was seeing those results and such. Now, this is a collaborate board. Again, I get a pop-up window. This says, would you like to approve student comments before they are posted? Well, you know your students. You say yes or no to this. They are high school students, but so you decide, do I want to approve them before the rest of the class sees them? I'm going to say no. So I'm asking the question, search for a picture of a prey, add it to the collaborate board, and describe your animal. Down here in the bottom of your screen, you have a text box. And so I would type in, I'm going to talk about a rabbit is, well, it'd be nice if I could spell it right. A rabbit is a prey because, and then I would tell why. And then next to this, there is a little square. It looks like a landscape. I click on it. It takes me out to Google Images. So I could type in rabbit and hit the magnifying glass. And here are all these images of a rabbit. And I would just pick one. I would hit save. And now I would post it. So collaborate boards are just great, again, for again, getting input from all your students. Your students enjoy looking, sharing their information. A great way to get 100% participation. On this, there is a trash can. So if somebody posted something and it got past you or you weren't approving them, you can click on the trash can and you can remove that. Now, for the teacher, I see the names of my students on each of these. For you, the student, you're just seeing the post. You're not seeing who did it. And that's, so you see there's a little heart at the bottom, and you could, extend this activity and suggest that let everybody vote on which one they like best, or something like that. So this is a collaborate board. You don't have to do it with images. You could just do it with text. Again, this is what I was seeing. And you can see here is a card that was deleted. This is just part of that PowerPoint presentation that was pretty boring. Now, this is an open-ended question. Can an animal be both predator and prey? Explain your answer. So you can just type in a very brief response. Open-ended questions will not be graded for you because there's no right or wrong answer, but you will see all of the student responses. And one thing I'm going to show you, and I just think for your school in particular, how important this could be. On an open-ended question like this, when you're creating it, there is a toggle, and you can turn that on. And what that does, it allows your students to respond to that question orally. So you may have students that it's still hard for them to uh, type in their answer, but that they could answer in orally very well. And if you're, I know you're wanting them to be proficient in English, but also if you're teaching in a foreign language, you can read the question to them in that language. Now, again, I'm seeing your responses in real time. By each of your names, I have a share button. So again, there may be a student that just really nails this answer, and you want to share that, what they wrote, with the whole class. You can certainly do that and all. Now, I can share, as I said earlier, I could hide student names. It's down in the bottom right-hand corner, and that would blank out the student that name if I was going, if I wanted to share it and not have that name come up. Don't ever be afraid to click on something in Nearpod. You are absolutely not going to break it. And to me, it's very intuitive and such. So here you can see what I was seeing. Now, Mary Poppins did a much better job of answering this question because she explained her answer. So I could click right here. This, you see, is by each of the student names, and that would share that out with the class. Now, of course, this is just a screenshot I took, but you may have seen this on some of the other slides. This is an immersive reader icon. If your students are working on a computer and you have turned immersive reader on, that means that the students will be able to click on it and it would read the question aloud. Now, if they're on a phone or an iPad or tablet, something, that's not going to work. That's something they're working on. But if they are on a computer, immersive reader will work. Also, I'm going to show you how you can add your own audio file to slides. Your students are used to hearing your voice, and so that may be something that you will want to do a lot of. This is a Microsoft Sway. You may not have heard of it. It's like a PowerPoint on steroids. I did not make this. There's a library of Microsoft Sways. They are very well done. The images are fantastic. The text is there. This would take me a lot of time to create. But in 5 seconds, I was able to add this to my lesson and all. And so when I have something like this in Nearpod, I need to allow time for students to read all this information, maybe make notes. And if you see this deck of cards, you just click on it and you go through the cards. So you see, I have my images and I have text. So Microsoft Sways, they have them on a lot of topics. I mean, you could make one if you have Office 365, but I just love it that I can find one that just adds more content to my lesson, and it didn't take me a lot of time. This is a matching activity, another way to do a formative assessment. And you can go ahead and be matching up this. So I have my instructions at the top, match the word with the definition. You create your own matching pairs. And the way it's graded is that obviously there are 8 pairs here, so that if you get them in 8 tries, that's the best you can do. it takes you 18 tries, I'm kind of thinking you're just clicking around. It is very easy to make these matching pairs. You can have text to definition, like, or text to text, a vocabulary to a definition. You can have text to an image. If you're introducing new vocabulary and you need a visual, you can do math problems. You can have a math problem, and then you can have the correct answer. And we'll be seeing how easy it is to create your own set of matching. This is fairly new, and all of us were cheering when when they introduced it to everyone. Also, you can view the pairs. So if people are really maybe struggling with it, you can view the pairs with your students and talk about why this is the correct match to the other.
Joan,
Yeah.
just wanted to jump in with we got a few questions regarding the Microsoft Sways. So those are available, the pre-populated ones are available
Yeah.
in the Nearpod library?
Yes.
Okay, so we can log in with our Nearpod accounts and access those?
Yes, I'll show you where they are. They're actually when you're in edit and you are adding content, and you'll see all of them there. And okay, so I mean, they basically could be used by themselves if you wanted to, or you could add it to another. But I'm going to show you those. And as I said, I've never made one. I just like to use what's already done. So this was the matching pairs. You see Oprah was just kind of clicking around. Oops, I kind of scooted through that one, didn't mean to. Okay, this is virtual reality. And again, there's a whole library, just like the Microsoft Sways, the 3D images. And this is a partnership with 360 Cities. And you can see I'm moving all through this. And with older students, what I like to do, this is kind of making everybody dizzy, is I like to have maybe a leading question before this comes up to say, look for and be able to describe what a coral reef looks like. Or I could, some other virtual reality, I could do a compare and contrast and all. Again, 360 Cities, if you've ever used it, this is where all these, and there's thousands of them to choose from. Or, look for the largest predator, and there it is. And I'm just using my touchpad on my computer to move that around. If I'd been on a iPad or something, I could have just kind of held it up and done that. Now, we're not going to go through and do all of these collaborate boards or look at all of the videos because I want to make sure you have time for being in your account. So here, this is just another collaborate board. It doesn't have images. And so Nearpod has done a great job in providing webinars, online resources, and such for everyone. So it's like, okay, maybe I missed something, but those resources are going to be there for you. Anytime you're in Nearpod and you see their icon there, you click on it, that's going to take you back to your home page. This plus sign allows you to create a new lesson in Nearpod, or using Google Slides, you can create folders. Quick launch means it could be used a couple of ways. You just click on it and you add an open-ended question, draw it. You could have a timer and such. Or you're in the middle of a presentation and you think, oh, I wish I'd put that open-ended question in and all. Now, because you have high school students and you probably have period 1, 2, 3, 4, so forth. If you do a quick launch in period 2 and you ask a open-ended question, that will only show up in period 2 it won't show up in all of your classes. This is your profile. It's in the top right-hand corner. When you're in your library, we're going to certainly look at that because you can toggle on and off these different features. And there's some I think you definitely want to have turned on. Okay. As I said, there's over 8,500 lessons already made, and you don't have time to look at all of them, but I'm going to show you how to search, how to use the various filters. Starting in the first part of August, they launched the interactive video library. And so those are videos that have been created that have embedded questions in them. And if you're showing a longer video, say 10 minutes or so, having those embedded questions keeps your kids focused and all. You can edit those questions. You can add your own questions. You can now bring in a video like from YouTube and add questions. You could bring it into an existing lesson. Because it's new, you're not going to find a lot of lessons that are already made that have interactive videos in them. And so that the Nearpod library is going to become your new best friend. And we're going to talk about how you can search and use filters. All the state standards are in there. And so you would be able to select New York and select a state standard and find lessons that would help you to meet that standard. As I said, I'm going through these not because they're not important, but you will have them because they will be sent to you and all. And so, as I said, I think it's important for you to see what the student sees, but I want to have time that you get comfortable in your own account and in finding out about the Nearpod library. So, we did a live participation. A student paste, you're going to get exactly the same code, not exactly the same one as if it was live, it will be different. That code is automatically good for 29 days. You may have students that want to go back and redo some of these lessons or go through them again. There's a toggle there that requires student submissions. So you've done this lesson, it has quizzes in it, has draw-its, it has collaborate boards. I wanted that turned on because I want to make sure my students do all of those activities. You as the teacher can peek in and see what progress they're making. So as I said, the student paste has become so important now. Nearpod reports are great. Like when I finish this and close this session out, guess what? My report for this class, it'll already be there for me to look at. I can look at how the class did overall. I can look at it in individual students. There's about 3 different ways to get 2 reports and all.
Sorry, can I jump in with a question about grades? Is there a way we use Google Classroom? Just wondering if there's a way that the grades can like be integrated into Google Classroom. Is there like a?
Okay, your grades are they can be downloaded as a CSV file and such. You can they will not automatically go over to Google Classroom as such, but I'll show you the reports and you can see the format that they're in. Okay. And maybe, I know again, so much of this, right now I'd hate to be a programmer for Nearpod because everybody is coming up with great new ideas. This is a fill in the blank. And this is a drag and drop activity. And so you create your own fill in the blanks. And then when your students get to it, they will just drag the correct answer over there. Again, this is something you create, but it will be graded for you. Okay, now, this is time to climb. This is taking any quiz and putting it in a gamified format. It's also graded just like the other would be. So we're getting near Halloween. You have some different scenes. Sometimes high school teachers think, oh, this is, this is for younger students. I'm going to tell you, I have high school teachers that tell me all the time, my kids so enjoy doing a time to climb. There's some that are already made. Any quiz you have can be turned into a time to climb. You have a toggle button that allows you to turn the sound off or on. I'm just going to turn it off right now. I'm going to go hit continue. And so some of you jump on and be willing to see if you can survive this quiz. So what happens for me, I start seeing the memes that you've chosen and your name. And it tells me how many of the students are connecting. So you would know how many of the students are in your class. And so when you say you saw 20 were connected, you know that everybody is on and you're ready to start the game. Now the game has a timer on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. And let you do 2 or 3 questions so you can understand. This is one that I found that was already done. It's on there, and there. Something that people always have trouble with. Now, I have a leaderboard. Whoever answers the fastest and is correct is at the top of the leaderboard. If everybody answers before the time is up, it moves on to the next question. Right now, Melissa is in the first position, but guess what? She could be knocked off. I'm going to give you about one more chance to see if she can maintain first place. Oh, Tracy jumped up and is now leading. So, as I said, you can, this one I didn't make. I searched in the Nearpod library and brought it in. But I have quizzes in, other lessons that I have just converted to a time to climb. And I will tell you, your kids will have fun. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and Tracy, congratulations, you survived. So here's the just another collaborate board and all. These are some of the things I'm going to be showing you. You can add content to any existing lesson, to a Google slideshow. This is where Microsoft Sway is. Here's all the activities, most of which we have looked at and such, but you can add into a lesson. So lots of things, many things you can put into your existing lessons. The Facebook group of Nearpod educators is very active. Teachers are always sharing. Nearpod likes to get feedback. This is just a Survey Monkey. I'm just going to take a few seconds to let you fill this in. It goes to Nearpod. And they like to hear from teachers. They like to listen. It helps them make their trainings better and so forth. So it's pretty easy to answer and all. And then when I close out the session, we'll be back into your account and you will be able to, I could go right now when I close it out into my reports and have those where I could collect data. I could share it with other teachers and all. So I'm going to go ahead and end the session. And they always ask me, am I sure? Do I want to end it? Yes. And now I'm back into my library. So I would like for you to be in your Nearpod account. You can either watch my screen if you wish, or if you can split your screen so you have both of them up at the same time, that works. Some people have two devices going and all. So this is where we started. This is where I launched the lesson from. But I want you to go to the right-hand corner. You probably just have a little gray circle. This is your profile. I have my picture in mine. And I'm going to click on it. I'm going to come down here to lesson settings. Now, you can turn these off or on any time. This is fairly new. Enable student names to autofill. You're a Google Classroom. This helps with autofilling your students' names when they join a lesson and such, if you have it turned on. Here's Enable Immersive Reader. As I said, I would certainly turn this on. Enable Student Notes. I think you want to turn that on. This is when the next one is if your students are in a student-paced lesson, do you want them to see a graded version of their quiz? That's up to you. Allow students to resubmit answers in live participation mode. I have it turned off. You could turn it on. You may want them to be able to resubmit. As I said, you can change these anytime. Please turn on the next two. Enable Collaborate Board for student-paced lessons. If you don't have this turned on and have a Collaborate Board in a student-paced lesson, they'll get a message waiting for teacher input, and they will not be able to respond. This is the other one I would want on in student-paced. I want them to do all of the activities.
So I can just to jump in with a question about that. There was a question in the chat. Is when students are doing a self-paced lesson, do they have to complete it all in one go, or can they start it and then, if they have to go take care of a sibling, go take care of the sibling and then come back? Is that a possibility, or is it?
They will, that code is still going to be live. Now, so, what everybody wants to have happen every time is that if you do, stop and then come back, that you pick up exactly where you left off. And that doesn't always happen every time, but they can certainly go back through it. And I know teachers tell me that their students sometimes feel like they need to do the lesson more than once to gain really understanding. So you've made that code. I mean, it's good for them. You can make it longer than 29 days, but they can certainly get back into the lesson and all. So whether it'll end up right where they left off, I can't, it doesn't always happen. It happens more likely in a student pace than in live. So then you can come back to your Nearpod icon, click on it. That takes you back to your Nearpod library. Your Nearpod, you're in your library at this time, but over here on the left-hand side, excuse me, I have dyslexic this morning. You see Nearpod library. I'm going to click on Nearpod library. And when I do, this takes me to this screen where I have the 8,500 lessons at my fingertips and over 1,000 videos. They'll always have across the top some of the latest lessons and such. Now, over here on the left-hand side, it says select a standard or state. So I click on that arrow. I scroll down to, I go a little farther, to New York. I say that I teach math. Well, let's take English language arts. And I teach high school. Now I'm going to drill down just a little bit more. So these lessons would come in, fall under the different state standards. And it would be high school and English language arts. But I can drill deeper, and I'm going to come down here and pick this standard, 11-12L5A. And I have 3 lessons that would help meet that standard. So I could, we're going to show you how to bring a lesson in from the Nearpod library into your own library. And you notice a time to climb came up. This means it's a time to climb on figures of speech. So you can drill down to get to that standard. Sometimes there'll just be one lesson and all. Anytime you want to clear your filters, just click on that X and all. Now, one of the easiest ways to search is to come up here and search for lessons in the Nearpod library. So maybe I am teaching World War I. And I click on that. I haven't set a grade. Now at this point, I'm going to get all lessons for all grades. But I could come over here now and just click on high school. And these lessons would be lessons suited for high school students and all. And so some of them are by teachers, some of them are by the Nearpod team and all. And you'll start recognizing some of the names. Jody Lund is one of the teachers that does a lot of social studies lessons, and hers are very good and all. So you see I have quite a few, and there's even more. So let's say I like this. I see this on World War I. She's told me Jody Lund does good lessons. Okay. What do I do to get it into my library? First of all, I have to preview the lesson. And it's going to come up, and I can preview it. I can go through and look at all the slides. I know there's 22 slides here. Yes, I also know I can delete slides. I can add slides. My students probably don't really want to read her autobiography, but I know once I get it into my library, I can delete that slide. So I go through it and I think this has, this one, it's very good. It has a lot in it. I know I can use it and I know I can edit. And so I go to add to my library there at the bottom. Now, what I have done, and I'm just going to go back to my library. What I have done is I have taken it out of the Nearpod library and brought it here into my library. Once it's in my library, I can delete slides, add content, do whatever I wish. It's still over there in the Nearpod library. So I got to that lesson by going to the Nearpod library. And so this time though, let's say I am just going to say I am a science teacher in high school. And now I'm going to see a lot of science lessons that are appropriate for high school. Newton's second law of motion, photosynthesis, and all. So you can go through these every time you preview the lesson. Once you preview it, and all you do is click on Add to My Library. That also shows you some that are related that you might want to look at. So now, when I go back to my library, I have these new lessons that have come in to my library, okay? And most times they'll land right at the top. This one happened to land down here. But let's go back and let's look at Jody's World War I. Okay, down in the bottom corner, it says edit. This is where I'm going to personalize this lesson for my class. Okay. Here's the slide. It's about Jody's teaching experience and such. I know my kids aren't going to read that, so I'm going to click on delete slide. So you can delete any of these slides that you do not wish to use. You can tell that's a video that came from YouTube and all. But let's see what else we can do to this. And here's where you start adding content and you add activities. All right, this is video. This is the new embedded questions. I click on video. I have a search box up here. I'm going to put in World War I. And here are some videos. Now, I didn't say what grade. I could have just have clicked on high school and changed my search up just a little bit. And I see before I even preview any of these, how long the video is. Okay, so here, Woodrow Wilson's is from BBC. It's 2 minutes and 15 seconds. This one is 10 minutes. Now, if you're going to look at these before you put them into your lesson. But what you see here, I clicked on it. Every place there's a blue dot. This is where there is a question. Or if you wanted to add your own question, you could click there, add activity, and you would type in either an open-ended or a multiple choice question. Or I can say there's a question there. Not really, but you could also do the same thing here. You could hit edit and you could delete a question. Okay, and so then I save it. So as I said, most of the lessons are not going to have these interactive videos because it's so new. Now, when I add a slide, it always drops down here to the bottom. And then I just take it and move it to wherever I would like it in my lesson. Now, this had one on that came from YouTube. You could go back into it and also do add questions. Add a slide. I'm still on content. PhET simulations, if you are a math or science teacher, these are simulations from the University of Colorado at Boulder. It's hard to do hands-on science right now, and so you may find a simulation that you can use that would help your students understand what you're teaching. And of course, you could look at the ones in middle school. They may hit, what you're looking for. Here's one on color vision. Here's what, this is certainly one of my favorite. It has to do with energy, and they're using a skateboarder and all. And of course, kids love to be able to relate to that. So you preview it. Oh, you pick it, you preview it, and then you say done, and bingo, it's in your lesson. So the PhET simulations are for math and science.
Can I jump in with we have a couple of questions coming in the chat.
That's right.
One specific question was related to the interaction between Google. We use Google Classroom extensively in our school. So are you able to import a slide into this lesson from Google Slides?
Yes. There's, yes. Okay. Let's just stop and let me talk about this. Two things. One, you could copy a slide, a Google slide, and just paste it. You could do that. Or you can get the add-on from the Chrome store, the Nearpod add-on. And then right there in your Google slideshow, by clicking on the add-on, you could add any of these activities or adding this content. And then you save it, and it will be brought into your Nearpod library.
So folks, we already have the add-on. So if you haven't played with that yet, when you're in Google Slides, if you go on the menu, there's add-ons and there's Nearpod, and then you can click on that and you'll see a lot of these features.
You're going to see a menu over on the right, a pop-up menu on the right-hand side that's going to look very similar to what I'm doing right now.
And there was another question, not specifically related to this, but what is the live participation plus Zoom?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, quite frankly, I would put the link, I would let them do a one sign on through Google and get into Nearpod that way. It's supposed to, so that you could have one, you just have to click once and all. When I'm doing it, I'm just opening up my Zoom and then sharing my screen and all. But if they, that was, the way that it's meant that you would choose, you would launch your lesson, you would choose that, and then it would open up the Zoom.
So in essence, you're opening a Zoom meeting, but
Yes.
it's like being run through the Nearpod.
Yes.
Okay.
I like it the other way around. That's just me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, just one more quick question. It's sort of back to the lesson syncing. So since our students don't have an account per se, if they, let's say, if they're in school and they log in and they do part of a lesson and they say our students are likely going to be using their Google platform account to pull their name from it, does that, if they then log in at home to complete that lesson and they use that same INTHS, like single sign or use on sort of account to access the lesson, would that track across devices?
It should. Okay. And I say that I always like I always like to try things, and I haven't really done it where I'm in a Zoom meeting and then gotten out. As long as if it's live participation,
Mhm.
as long as you don't end the session, that code that you gave them will still be open, be available to them.
Okay.
If you end the session, like I ended our session, that code would not be there. If it's student participation, or then, or where it's kind of standalone, that's different. But I think what you're asking is you're in class, they want to finish it up later, as long as you don't close out the session. And I think on the live now that the live code is good for 15 days. Okay.
Okay. And there was one more question that just came in. If you're uploading a video to Nearpod, is there a size limit?
10 minutes or about, well, if you're uploading a video, say from YouTube, because you're just putting in basically the URL, like right here, I'm on the web, adding web content. When I click on that, this is where most of the time I'm thinking I'm going to go to a website and give my students more things, more to watch. But as you know, like if I went out to YouTube and I found a video on kids' presidents, that's really what I'm copying into it is a URL and all. So but if you were creating your own video or audio file, the video files are not limited. Like the audio files, if you created your own audio file, it's definitely limited to 10 minutes, but your videos can be longer.
Thank you.
Okay.
We had another question come in. So if
Y'all are paying attention, good.
let me tell you, we have some very, very tech savvy
You do.
teachers. So we do, oh, this is a great question. Can students create their own Nearpod lessons? Like,
No.
so if we no, so.
They do, you have to have an account.
Okay. So even if, so we have the add-on in our Google Classroom. So and students will often create Google Slides and they have that add-on. So can they do it that way?
But see, they don't have a Nearpod account that they are logging
associated with. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. They probably could give you, let me see, that's kind of complicated. They could probably give you the URL for that Google Classroom and you could come here. But that's kind of convoluted, I think. But a lot of times you may want to add, and the reason I popped this on up is that you can type, you know how long URLs can be, and your students are not going to usually type those in correctly. And so you can put in for web content, like I've got NASA here, and when they come to a slide that has this added, they just click on the link and it goes to it. It has this, test this link. I always do that. I don't care how short it is. I do not want any surprises whatsoever. And then I save it. But that keeps them within Nearpod and all. And so remember, all of these are just popping in down here at the bottom. And then I drag them. Okay, add a slide. I'm still on adding content. So this is to help you understand that one, you could bring in your Google Slides, which you probably have a lot of, and add these type of activities. You could find a lesson in the Nearpod library and do the same thing. If you are a math teacher, this is the Desmos graphing calculator. The BBC has really nice videos that you can bring in. Here's Microsoft Sway. So all I do is I click on the Sway, and notice they have these in categories. And so I could pick a Sway, I would preview it. And if I liked it and it added to my lesson, I would add the sway. So that's how you bring in those Microsoft sways. As I said, I haven't looked at everyone, that's for sure, but everyone I have looked at has been very, very good. All right, so this is, it says upload an audio file. Maybe you want to bring in, say, the Martin Luther King speech. This is bringing in, you have to know where it is, but you could bring in the Martin Luther King, or if you made your own video. You can bring in a PDF. Sometimes, I always give the example, The Raven. That poem, you'd have to chop it into 2 or 3 slides. But you can save it as a PDF and then bring it in using the PDF viewer. And that way they could see all of it on one slide. Now, add activities. This is where the fun part begins. You could build your own time to climb. But I like to just go to the library or just take an existing quiz and turn it into a time to climb. Open-ended question. Very easy to do. You type your question here. Da, 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 da. What do you think of? What is your opinion of? Notice on the right-hand side, though, enable student audio recordings. I click on that. That means when the student is on this one, they can click and they can respond orally. You, the teacher, will get a file on each student. Okay. Now, also on this one, and you'll see this on many of the activities, add media, video, or audio instructions. You also see you have add a timer. But when I click on that, one, I can add an image. Maybe I want to add an image and have them answer a question regarding that image. And when you first look at it, you're going to think, well, that's about the size of a postage stamp. They won't be able to see it. But when they click on it, it enlarges. I think being able to add a video, especially if you're going to do the lesson student paced, a video on the topic or the question you're giving really adds a lot of learning for your students. You could add a document. This audio is like adding an audio file that, like the Martin Luther King. I could add a web resource. Maybe to this question, they might need to go to this website and read the information there before they answer. Here's what you can do this of adding your own voice. So you have a microphone and you just click on it. Students, I would like for you to tell me in your own words what you think is causing our climate to change so much each year. Stop. If you can listen to it, if you don't like it, and you just re-record. And when I save that, this comes up and it has this icon. And when the student sees that on their screen, they know they can click on it and that something orally will be spoken to them. You could record this in Spanish and ask them to respond to you in Spanish or respond to you in English to the question that you ask. So I think the auditory features now that are available on almost all the sites are going to be very important to you. I'm still adding activities now. Here's matching pairs. And you will see, here's my instructions, match the definition. I come here. We're studying Presidents of the United States. I'm going to put Abraham Lincoln. I come over here. I want to find an image of Abraham Lincoln. I click on it. I come up here. I put Abraham Lincoln. And I do a search. I take this picture and I say save. So now I have made one matching pair. I can add another pair. This time it's going to be 9 times 9 equals, and the answer is going to be 81. So I could put in math problems. I could have, if you're, teaching new vocabulary, you could have an image of that, whatever the vocabulary word is, and then have the definition. Or it could be a lot of times with the beginning sounds for younger students. So you can make your matching pairs very quickly. Great review, students like it. Add a slide, add activities. So you notice I'm doing the same thing over and over. A quiz, just like any other program. You put in your question right there, you put in your answers. You have to choose the right answer. But notice again, you have this ability to add media, video, or audio instructions and such. So you could add your voice to this.
Joan, we have a few more questions coming in and we're running out of, so
but this is fine. It's so good to ask these questions. And I will tell you, almost all of this is intuitive.
So specifically, are there other than the Collaborate board, are there other activities that would allow for students to work with each other and engage with each other in a lesson?
Okay, it's not. I mean, I certainly understand what you mean. Collaborate together. They're not in a class. They're not all in the same place. I mean, I don't know. Are you face to face? Or are you mostly virtual, hybrid?
We are everything. We have everything going on. I mean, we're specific. So a cornerstone of our work is collaboration. So we're really trying to figure out ways to encourage students to work with each other on a shared product. So we're just curious if there's a way to capture that other than obviously the Collaborate board.
Not really. And not like working on a project together. And where you would be sending maybe your slideshow back and forth to each other to.
Yeah. So another question that came up. So is vocabulary. We didn't, we're subscribed to Nearpod, but there's add-ons for vocabulary. So we can access those potentially?
No, right. It's an additional add-on. And I don't know what the cost is.
And do you have, just from a housekeeping standpoint, any thoughts around if we have multiple sections of, let's say we teach English 2, and we have a student-led lesson, do you recommend us having separate codes for each one of those sections of students, or one code, because ultimately all of the students from those different sections are going to be doing the same?
Okay, I would do a separate code, and let me just close this out. Except, there's something else I really wanted to show you. If you were going, I'm going over here to reports. Because they're in different sections, I would want their names grouped together by that section that they're in. So you see, I have taught this lesson many times, but I've given it a different code each time so that the students in this class, how they did are all in one report. So that's why I would do it with separate codes. And so like this is you all. And so I can see how the students did in general. I can look at any of these individually and such. And so here I can look at the students, I can see what they've done individually. And for my way I see this working best is when you are making sure that you put them in a different code each time. And you see, you can download it. It would come down. You can download as a PDF, or you can download as a CSV, which can be taken into Excel or into your Google way of doing it. So let me just show you. I just want to show you a couple of other things. I know we're coming right up on our time. Y'all have been great. I love it when people ask questions. But so here's our lesson. I hit edit. What I wanted to show you was that two things. One right here. Notice this convert to draw it is grayed out. When I click on this slide, now I can convert it to a draw it. That's how I took that slide that had those sentences on it and made it into a draw it. So you click on it, and then I would just go like this. And then I can double click and add my instructions, like circle the verbs in red and underline the nouns in blue and all. And the same thing, let me see if this one has a quiz. Okay, well, here's this one that I did that was just, when I click on quiz, then I have this box that becomes active and I can convert it to a time to climb. Okay, I just had to show you those two things.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. So as I said, I think you'll find it intuitive. Just, either bring in your Google slideshow, but when you're in Google Slides, you can use that add-on and add these activities. Then you save to Nearpod, and then it becomes like this lesson right here in my library, Digital Tools for Early Learners. That started out as a Google slideshow. And now I can run it through Nearpod and get all the grading and the reports and such.
Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Joan. This was enormously helpful. We really appreciate you walking us through all the different features. I know I was initially intimidated by Nearpod, and I've been playing with it. So we really, really appreciate it. Staff, if I'm hoping as time goes on and as we all kind of get our heads wrapped around it, we begin to share best practices. I know certain teachers that have been using it a lot and have chicks of the trade. So I'm hoping to create more spaces where we can share these best practices.
Wow.
We are going to be, I believe we sent out an email, teachers, if you have jump rope questions, there's going to be another Q&A happening in about 10 minutes or so. But before we leave, just again, thank you so much, Joan. And if you have any more questions regarding Nearpod, you can email me and I can forward them on to the Nearpod team.
Right. And as I said, I'm going to be sending, of course, I will send to you both the recording and the other resources so that you could share those out.
Great.
And all. So I'll stop the share. And we're all going to get through this and be better educators for it, I'm convinced. So have a good day.
Okay. Thank you.